We all know such characters. Strong, struggling, seriously stressed, but always supportive. And sometimes secretive. What are they hiding? Let's take a look at
Virginia.
You know, the original colonies are like a family. There is an older, uptight brother, a cool younger one, an elegant and willful debutant, a stubborn, rebellious minx, Rhode Island,
Cut off his manhood and feed it to the goats.
and so on. But the main one you're gonna have is the mother. There are three main Virginia stereotypes.
Stand aside, Marge. I'm taking the boy deer hunting.
We sell cigarettes, and they're cool.
Welcome to the CIA.
Okay, maybe four.
Paul Revere never arrived in Concord. That was Samuel Prescott's route. And the warning all the riders gave, as discreetly as possible, was the regulars are coming, not the British are coming. See, we too were British at the time, so that would have been most unhelpful.
My cousin Steve forgot to take his medication this morning. Didn't you, Steve?
I'm the only one amongst you who doesn't require medication.
But there is so much more to this state. At first, Virginia was like a hardworking single mom. England was in fierce competition with Spain at the time. New World was too small for two lions. And brave Virginia set sail to distant shores. And she had an original Thanksgiving, by the way. Her first baby went missing. But she didn't quit. Colonists could barely feed themselves at first. They even started to eat each other. Virginia pressed on. Conflicts with natives were brutal. Indian raids led to bloody massacres. Virginia persevered. Promised gold wasn't found. Virginia created her own riches. All for king and country.
We too were British at the time.
When England was torn apart by the Civil War, Virginia stayed loyal to her King Charming. She provided a haven for many royalists. And, at last, she started to make something for herself. Expansion went well, plantations grew, trade prospered. But, do you know what usually happens to hardworking single moms? They got preyed upon. King Charming decided, I raised and took care of her. She owes me. Virginia must trade only with United Kingdom, let's raise additional taxes, why not increase custom duties, and then intolerable acts were forced upon America. And Virginia was like...
You're a terminated fucker.
She started the revolution.
Shall we or not we, if we make use of those means which the God of nature hath placed in our power? 3 millions of people armed in the holy cause of liberty, and in such a country as that which we possess is invincible to any force our army can send against us. I know not what course others may take, but as for me, give me liberty or give me death.
And she finished it.
Everything will change. Everything has changed.
Victoriously. It wasn't that simple, of course. Victory in the revolution was won by common people. One of them, Peter Francisco, aka Virginia Giant, 6 feet and 8 inches in height, 260 pounds of pure muscle. He witnessed this speech, and he was so inspired that he became a true force of nature. Once, he killed 3 British grenadiers and captured the enemy flag, while suffering from 9-inch gash in his stomach. Another time, he rescued a 1,100-pound cannon from mud and carried it on his shoulders. It's an American property, after all. His most famous stunt, Francisco's fight. He was spying on the infamous Turtles Raiders. Very inconspicuously, I bet. Was spotted and surrounded by 11 men. They were like, give us your silver shoe buckles. And he was like, take them yourselves, you blackguards. And they fell for that. When one of the soldiers reached for the shoe buckles, Francisco struck him on the head, grabbed another soldier's musket, killed at least 3 of them, and escaped with at least 8 their horses. George Washington said, without him, we would have lost 2 crucial battles, perhaps the war, and with it, our freedom. And he was only one soldier from Virginia. But what happened after all that valor and glory? Virginia was almost like a queen herself now. Well, Almost. The power shifted to the north. Even her right to have slaves was threatened. The very slaves she raised and took care of, they owe her. So, she started another risky game.
When you play the Game of Thrones, you win, or you die.
First of all, to deal with abolitionists. Gabriel Prosser, hanged. Ned Turner, hanged. John Brown, hanged. Then, to get rid of Northmen.
Perhaps it's time to go home. The South doesn't seem to agree with you.
Decision to secede from Union was passed by a landslide. Some fools don't agree, they can run to their precious north. Richmond became the capital of the Confederacy. The power was back in Virginia. She provided most of the guns, artillery and ships. The Shenandoah Valley was the breadbasket of the Confederacy, and Saltville was the main source of salt.
Oh shit!
But most importantly, people were really eager to fight, endure all the horrors of civil war, than to see the dusky sons of Ham leading the fair daughters of the South to the altar.
And swept the Yankee army northward from Virginia.
From the first battle of Bull Run, when the fair knights of slavery bathed those Yankees in blood, to the battle of Appomattox Courthouse, when valiant Robert Lee had to surrender to some bearded person. Being true to herself, Virginia started and finished a war, after a fashion. Well, if it was a movie, it had to be a happy ending. Slaves are free, slavers are punished, and stuff. But no. Former slaves were segregated and disfranchised. Former slavers got even richer, especially due to invention of the tobacco cigarette rolling machine. Virginia was undoubtedly powerful. But was it enough? Did she want that? History of Virginia is very controversial as her famous son, Thomas Jefferson. For a time, she was conflicted. But, as he said once, do you want to know who you are? Don't ask, act. Action will delineate and define you.
So our umbilical cord to Mother Earth has been severed for the first time in history. Mankind floats upon a limitless plane of air.
And Virginia acted. Irene Morgan, a brave African-American who didn't give up her bus seat more than 10 years prior to Rosa Parks' case. Protests of young Barbara Rose Jones led to the largest case that ended school segregation in the USA. The efforts of two loving people, Mildred and Richard, led to another landmark. It ended all restrictions on interracial marriages in the USA.
You are not alone.
The first elected African-American governor in the USA was also in Virginia. And do you know that the famous bold bringer of freedom to where no man has gone before was also built here? Well, maybe it's eponym and scene setting, but it counts too.
This is the Big E, the first nuclear-powered aircraft carrier, one of the truly great scientific accomplishments of modern times.
Now you probably think, Virginia has to be a very harsh and tough mother. All those struggles, repressions, civil rights movements, life must be very challenging there. Well, to tell you the truth, she's a very cool mom.
Big baby.
Big baby.
First of all, she loves ponies. Since 1924, ponies swim here in herds. It's an astonishing sight to see. Also, she makes a really good wine and an amazing ham. It's the law here. College fun was practically invented here because of fraternities and other traditions. She hosts the oldest surfing contest in the USA, the second oldest in the world. Damn you, Australia! But the main thing is the summer vacation. Schools start only after Labor Day here. So, amusement parks can have an additional few days of joy. And one other thing. She's rather vain. And why not? She is beautiful. And there you have it. Virginia had a lot of roles during her history. But the main one is the birthplace of the nation, the mother of states, the mother of presidents.
The mother of dragons.
She had a tough life, made some hard choices, and sometimes was outright brutal. But it was she who started it all. A new land for brave people, independence for a young country, freedom for lovers of all races. And don't forget, wine, ham, and ponies. It's an amazing state, worth to love, to adore, and maybe even to worship a little. You know, a little.
Mother of dragons.
Yes. Hello.
Thanks for watching. Next one. Ohio. A state of great inventions and even greater bloodshed. We plan to cover all US states in the nearest year. If you're interested in this journey, please subscribe. See you next week.